Once upon a time, in the vibrant village of Nuru, lived a woman named Adia. She was a weaver, and her creations were the pride of the entire village. Her fabrics shimmered with colors as vivid as dawn breaking after a storm. But Adia was more than just talented, she was incredibly kind. Her smile glowed like the midday sun, and her generosity knew no bounds. Adia had 3 daughters, each as beautiful as the garments she crafted. She loved them more than anything in the world, always ensuring they wore the most exquisite dresses. The villagers of Nuru often said that Adia had a heart of gold. She spread joy not only within her family, but to all those around her. If she saw someone in need of clothing, she would gift them one of her creations, filling the village with warmth and beauty. Adia is the heart of Nuru, the people would say, admiring how her kindness inspired everyone. Her home was always filled with laughter and the rhythmic sound of her loom. Click-clack, click-clack, it sang as she worked her magic, while her daughters played nearby, adding to the joy in the house. The villagers loved visiting Adia, often bringing her fruits or flowers as tokens of gratitude for her kindness. Her presence seemed to bring the village to life. Even the trees would sway, and the birds would sing as Adia and her daughters passed by. Life in Nuru was joyful, and Adia's love for her family and neighbors made the village feel like one big happy family. But as she wove beauty and happiness into others' lives, her own story was about to enter a new chapter. One day, while Adia worked at her loom, she suddenly felt a sharp pain. "Ah!" she gasped, her heart pounding. The villagers rushed to her aid and quickly brought her to a wise healer, known for her gentle touch and soothing voice. After examining her, the healer smiled and said, "Adia, you are soon to be blessed with another child." Adia's heart filled with joy. She eagerly awaited the moment she could share the news with her husband Omari and their 3 daughters about the new addition to their family. As months passed, her belly grew, and the pregnancy became increasingly difficult, but the villagers surrounded her with care and support. When the day of birth arrived, Adia endured labor for 3 long days. At last, a baby girl was born, but this child was special. Her skin was as white as moonlight, and her hair gleamed like golden threads spun by the gods. Adia felt a whirlwind of emotions, joy, love, and a slight worry. She held her daughter close, admiring her delicate beauty. "You are my gift from the heavens," she whispered and named the girl Nia. But though Adia's heart overflowed with love, not everyone in the village shared her feelings. The villagers of Nuru held superstitions about albinism, believing it brought misfortune. Whispers spread like shadows, and Adia felt the wary glances around her. Yet she stood firm, her love for Nia unshakable. "This child is a blessing," she declared, her voice filled with resolve. Few knew that one day Nia's story would change not only the village but also their hearts. But when her husband, Omari, saw the child, a shadow fell over his face. Instead of celebrating, he was consumed by superstition. "This is a bad omen," he muttered darkly. "She cannot stay with us." Adia's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. How could anyone see her tiny, precious Nia as anything but a blessing? "She is our daughter," Adia pleaded, her voice trembling. "Our precious gift." After much persuasion, Omari reluctantly agreed to keep Nia, but imposed a cold condition: "I do not want to see her." The weight of his words crushed Adia, but she refused to abandon her daughter. She held Nia close, whispering promises of protection and love. Adia's older daughters, unsure how to react, had heard their father's harsh words and noticed the neighbors' whispers. Confused and hesitant, they kept their distance, leaving Nia in isolation. Determined to hold her family together, Adia tirelessly worked at her loom. The rhythmic click-clack filled their home as she crafted vibrant, elegant fabrics, hoping to bring joy and kindness into the world. Yet as she poured her soul into her work, her husband grew increasingly distant. Omari blamed Nia for every misfortune, even the smallest of troubles. She is the cause of all our hardships, he muttered darkly, casting new shadows into their home. The neighbors' whispers grew louder. People began avoiding Adia, refusing to visit her or buy her goods. They feared the pale-skinned child with hair that shone like moonlight. Though friends vanished and her business dwindled, Adia's love for Nia remained unwavering. She would hold her daughter close and say, "You are not a curse, my little moonbeam. You are special. One day, we'll show everyone just how extraordinary you are." Despite the coldness and suspicion surrounding them, Adia's love for Nia shone as brightly as the moon piercing through storm clouds. In the once happy village of Nuru, where laughter and smiles used to fill the air, shadows now loomed over Adia's family. Even in daylight and birdsong, their home felt heavy with sorrow. But Adia clung to hope, a hope that one day the world would see Nia as she did, not as a symbol of misfortune, but as a gift to be cherished. With Nia's arrival, Adia's heart remained as generous and open as ever. She tirelessly wove her vibrant fabrics, hoping their rich colors and soft textures would remind the village of the joy they once shared. But life had become unbearably hard. Omari, Adia's husband, struggled to find happiness. Every time his gaze fell on Nia, he saw only misfortune. When the crops failed or rain fell too little, he would say darkly, "It's because of her," gesturing toward the youngest daughter. Adia's heart broke each time, but she stayed silent, refusing to let her love for Nia fade. Their older daughters felt trapped. They adored their mother and wanted to make her happy, but the whispers from the villagers were hard to ignore. "Nia is different," people murmured, their faces reflecting unease. Scared and confused, the sisters kept their distance, leaving Nia to walk and play alone. The hardship extended beyond their home. When Adia brought her carefully crafted fabrics to the market, the same ones that once made her famous, people turned away. "We don't need bad luck," they muttered, glancing at Nia's pale skin, which they saw as an ill omen. These rejections cut deeply. Once the pride of Nuru, warmly welcomed and met with smiles, Adia now felt isolated. But her spirit remained strong. She continued to create her art and, more importantly, surrounded Nia with boundless love. To make ends meet, Adia took on grueling odd jobs. She cleaned houses, fetched water, and did any work that could bring in even a small amount of money. The labor was exhausting, and the pay was meager, a far cry from the prosperous days when her fabrics were in demand. But through it all, Adia's love for Nia never wavered. "My little moonlight spark," she would whisper as she hugged Nia, "you are perfect just as you are." Adia believed that one day the village would see the light she saw in her daughter. Yet the darkness seemed to deepen. Omari's sadness turned into simmering anger, widening the gulf between him and Adia. Their once lively home, filled with laughter and warmth, now felt heavy with silence, broken only by the rhythmic click-clack of Adia's loom and Nia's soft giggles. Deep in her heart, Adia's light continued to burn. She refused to give in to despair, holding tightly to her hope for brighter days. "We will find a way through these shadows," she promised Nia, her voice filled with determination. Under the quiet cover of night, Adia would whisper gently, her voice trembling but her resolve unwavering. "For Nia, for all of us," she murmured, letting silent tears fall, each carrying a prayer of hope and love for her daughter. As the sun rose and set over the village of Nuru, Nia, the girl with skin glowing like moonlight, grew. She was no longer the fragile infant who had caused so much stir, but had blossomed into a graceful young girl. Her eyes sparkled like the night sky, and her smile could brighten the darkest days. But despite her growth and radiant spirit, the village whispers didn't stop. "There goes that girl," people would say, not even bothering to lower their voices anymore. Now fingers pointed directly, and Nia heard every word. She tried to keep her smile, just as her mother Adia had taught her. Adia watched with both pride and sadness as her daughter grew. She was proud of Nia's kind and intelligent heart, but it pained her to see how lonely she felt. Nia's sisters, now older, still kept their distance, listening more to the villagers' fears than to their mother's pleas for compassion and unity. Amari, Nia's father, grew more silent with each passing day. He poured all his energy into the fields from dawn till dusk, avoiding the home that, in his mind, was a reminder of his misfortune. At night, he would glance at Nia, but quickly look away, as if afraid of what he might feel. Nia tried to make friends, but her path was filled with obstacles. When she joined other children at the water's edge, their mothers hurriedly pulled them away. "Come here, stay away from her," they warned, their voices laced with unnecessary fear. Those words hurt, and Nia carried the water home, quietly letting her tears fall. Even at home, Nia faced struggles. Her brothers and sisters, who should have been her closest friends, avoided her, afraid they too would be labeled as unfortunate. They didn't share their games or secrets with her, leaving Nia alone. She often felt like a solitary moon shining in an empty, dark sky. But at home, Nia found comfort, learning to weave beside Adia. Her nimble fingers quickly mastered the craft, creating fabrics as beautiful as her mother's. "You have a gift, Nia," Adia would say proudly, her voice filled with warmth and admiration. "Your hands are like magic." In their small, quiet home, Nia created magic at the loom, her fingers weaving patterns as intricate as the dreams she held deep within her. But outside those walls, no one noticed the beauty Nia created. All they saw was her pale skin. Often Nia would sit by the window, watching the life of the village of Nuru pass her by. She wondered why she felt like such an outsider, why her presence provoked whispers and glances. She had so much love to give, so many smiles left unreturned. Her heart was vast, yet it ached heavily with the weight of unspoken love. One day, sitting by the loom beside her mother, she finally voiced the question that had haunted her for years. "Mama, why don't they love me?" Adia looked at her daughter, feeling her own heart break under the weight of an answer she didn't want to give. "My child," she said gently, "sometimes people fear what they don't understand. But remember this, you are loved, deeply and truly, by those who truly matter." As Nia grew, her beauty, inside and out, became more apparent, but so did her loneliness. The village's rejection became a familiar pain, one she had learned to live with, though it never stopped hurting. Her world was small, confined to the warmth of home, her mother's love, and the rhythmic thrum of the loom. The vibrant village of Nuru, with its laughter and life, seemed like a dream just out of reach. Yet, despite everything, Nia's spirit didn't fade. She remained kind even to those who showed her no kindness. She smiled, even when no one smiled back. She loved, even when she wasn't loved in return. In a world that could not see her true self, Nia continued to shine, a light dimmed by shadows but never extinguished. One day, that light led her to a decision that would change her fate. Nia made a choice that had been growing in her heart for years. She could no longer stay where she was seen as a mistake, where her light was hidden behind fear and misunderstanding. "Mama," she said one quiet evening, her voice steady though her eyes sparkled with sadness, "I need to find a place where I belong." A storm of emotions rose within Adia. She knew the pain of rejection her daughter carried. She felt it with all her heart. But the thought of Nia venturing into the vast, uncertain world frightened her. "Nia, my moonbeam," Adia whispered, her voice trembling, her eyes filling with tears. "Are you sure?" Nia nodded, her determination unwavering. "I must, Mama. I need to find a place where my light can shine, where people will see me, not just my skin." Adia saw the resolve in her daughter's eyes, the same strength that helped Nia endure each day in a village that had turned its back on her. And though her heart ached, she knew she couldn't hold her daughter back. The night before Nia's departure felt endless. Adia held her daughter close, sharing stories of courage and love from their ancestors. "Wherever you go," Adia said, "carry our love with you. It is your shield, your strength. When dawn cast a gentle glow over their small village of Nuru, Nia gathered her few belongings, clothes, food, and her weaving tools. With these hands, she promised herself, I will create a new life. Omari, silent for years, found no words, feeling a heaviness of regret and worry for his daughter. Nia's older sisters watched from afar, unable to untangle their emotions. Zayn, her close friend, walked her to the village's edge, offering a heartfelt blessing. Go with the strength of our ancestors, Adia said, her voice firm despite her tears. Find your path, my child, and remember, you will always have a home here. With resolve in every step, Nia looked back one last time, memorizing the image of her mother, the woman who taught her love and resilience. Then she turned to face the unknown future. Adia stood watching, her heart torn between pride and sorrow. She whispered a prayer to the winds, asking them to carry her love and protect Nia on her journey. Nia walked for days, her heart heavy but her spirit unbroken. She crossed rivers and hills, leaving behind Nuru and the past with every step. One morning, she arrived at a new village nestled among green hills and sparkling streams. This village was different, peaceful, welcoming. With caution, Nia entered the village, expecting whispers, sideways glances, and that familiar feeling of rejection. But instead, she was met with smiles, warm, genuine smiles from people who didn't know her story, yet were ready to welcome her. In this village, no one whispered about her unusual appearance or looked at her with suspicion. Here, they saw her as she was, a young woman with a talent for weaving and a heart full of kindness. Nia, with the weaving skills her mother Adia had taught her, began creating fabrics with a steady rhythm. Her fingers moved as if they were one with the loom, crafting cloths that told vivid stories. They shimmered like morning light and held the calm of sunset. The villagers marveled at her work, touching the softness of her creations and saying in awe, "Look at this beauty." Nia was no longer just a stranger. She was seen as a true artisan, a master whose hands seemed to create wonders. Word of Nia's weaving quickly spread, drawing people from distant places. They came not only for her fabrics, but to meet the remarkable girl who created them. Her hands weave magic, they would say, admiring her skill. Nia, once an outsider, was now surrounded by the support of her new community. For the first time in her life, she felt a genuine sense of belonging. She was invited to dinners and celebrations, and each day her circle of friends grew. Now, she was no longer the stranger, but a friend and valued member of the village. With her success came a deep, true happiness that Nia had never known. Each morning, she awoke to the life she had always dreamed of but never believed possible. The memories of her lonely past began to fade, replaced by the warmth of her new village. Here, Nia was loved for who she was. Nia's fame grew, and her skill continued to blossom. Her fabric became highly sought after, and her small home filled with laughter and light. She shared her success with others, remembering her mother's teachings of kindness and generosity. Nia became known not only as a weaver, but as a person with a big heart. One day, while working under a large tree, Nia realized something profound. She had found her place in the world not by changing herself, but by staying true to who she was. In this village, Nia wasn't just accepted, she was cherished. And so her journey became not an end, but the beginning of a new chapter. This chapter was filled not just with success, but with true happiness. In this new home, Nia understood that the greatest achievement was not fame or wealth, but the freedom to be herself without apology. Over time, her life blossomed in ways she could never have imagined. In her new village, something unexpected happened. Among those who admired her skill and gentle nature was Ari, a prince and the son of the village chief. Prince Ari was wise and kind, respected by all. He had heard of Nia's magical cloths and even more of her kind heart. Curious, he came to her shop disguised as a buyer. But as soon as he saw her, he felt something special, something indescribable. Their conversation began with weaving and soon flowed to life, dreams, and the world they both longed for. In Prince Airy, Nia found a kindred spirit, someone who saw the world not only as it was, but as it could be. And Prince Airy discovered in Nia a strength and nobility he had never encountered before. What began as a friendship blossomed into a deep love founded on respect and shared dreams. One day, under that very tree where Nia had realized she had found her place, Prince Airy took her hand and asked her to be his wife. He didn't see just a weaver or notice her differences. He saw Nia, the woman who had captured his heart. "With you, I see a future full of light and beauty," he said. Tears of joy filled Nia's eyes, and she agreed, her heart, once heavy with sorrow, now rejoicing in love. Before the wedding, Prince Airy asked if there was something Nia wished to do. She realized it was time to face her past and return to Nura, not for acceptance, but to close the chapter that had once defined her life. "Before the wedding, my dear mother must know and bless us," she said. Prince Airy, understanding her desire, supported her without hesitation. On a bright morning, Nia, now with Prince Airy by her side, journeyed to Nuru. When they entered the village, everything looked the same, but Nia herself felt completely different. Holding Prince Airy's hand, she walked the familiar paths, seeing how people stopped, astonished at the sight of her, their mouths open in wonder. "Is that Nia?" they whispered, amazed at how radiant she had become, a star who had found her place. And then came the moment she had long awaited and slightly feared. She saw her mother, Abena, and their eyes filled with tears. They embraced, and in that embrace, everything was conveyed. "I missed you. I'm proud of you. I love you." Abena looked at her daughter, unable to believe that the girl once rejected was now a beloved princess, glowing with happiness. In Nuru, Nia's sisters, who had once turned their backs on her, were now facing their own struggles. They'd found neither happiness nor success. Seeing Nia's return, they felt shame and amazement, unable to meet her gaze or the eyes of the villagers. Overcome with regret, they decided to leave the village in search of a new beginning, just as Nia once had. Though saddened by their departure, Nia understood that each story follows its own path. With love, she turned to those who had supported her and invited her mother to move with her to her new village, a place where kindness and love reigned. With tears of joy, Abena agreed, ready to begin a new life where her daughter had found happiness. Nia's return changed Nuru. The villagers no longer saw her as someone to whisper about. She now seemed to them strong and kind, almost like a queen. Remembering how they had treated her before, the people felt inspired to be better and treat others with kindness. Before leaving the village, Nia gathered her family and the villagers, speaking of love, acceptance, and the beauty of diversity. "Never judge people by their appearance," she said. "Each person is unique and valuable, regardless of their skin or background." Her words deeply moved them, sparking change in their hearts. So Nia left Nuru once more, but this time with her mother by her side and her head held high. She returned not just as a respected woman, but as someone who had proven that kindness heals and everyone deserves a chance to shine, no matter where they come from or how they look. Nia's story was more than a tale. It was a lesson in compassion, acceptance, and the magic of second chances. As Nia and Abena journeyed toward their new home, they looked forward with hope for a future full of love and joy. Now, as a respected woman, Nia continued her craft, not only weaving fabrics, but creating a life filled with kindness and warmth. Her story became a guiding star that lit the path for both the old and new village. The moral of Nia's journey spread far beyond her village. Never put others down for their appearance. Each person is unique. This lesson, rooted in acceptance and forgiveness, touched everyone who heard her story, a reminder of the power of kindness and the beauty of diversity.